Good afternoon. My name is Etty Dolgin. I am representing right now the fact that I'm a chairperson of the Chicago IAC and a member of the National Board. And I have the pleasure of introducing Vardit, who is the moderator. Vardit is a role model of a super master educator that we all can learn from. And every time I have a conversation with Vardit, I learn so much more than what I knew before. There are not that many educators that we can all always learn from. And Vardit is a friend and a super, super, super wonderful person, a helpful person, and a great educator. So Vardit, we're so excited that you're going to moderate this Israel Hebrew education.
So, toda rabba, Etty, and thank you for coming. And usually, this happens, and usually we talk about Hebrew in English. And the reason we do that, because we want to be more inclusive and to make sure that all of us will be able to participate in this type of discussion. So the panel today is one of the two panels that we are going to dedicate to language and identity. The first one right now is a panel that's is titled, let me just find the title, it has to do with Israel and Jewish American education, Jewish and Israeli identity. So we are lucky to have here presenters, a variety of presenters. Each of these presenters is bringing a different perspective on education related to different sectors of education. We have Jeremy Fingerman, who is the CEO, I'm sorry. You can be also CFO if you want to.
That's fine.
From the Foundation for Jewish Camps. Galit Goldberg from Emek, Israel American Afterschool program, which is the after-school program for Israeli kids, I get so.
Israel and American kids.
And American kids. Dr. Bruce Powel, who is the head of the Toledo High School in California, Los Angeles. Rachel Raz, who is the founder of Early Engagement Forum and director of the Early Childhood Institute at Hebrew College in Boston. And Etty Dolgin. She is a board member, but also she is well known for her initiatives related to Hebrew education in early childhood and so on, even and more, not just early childhood. And she's going to talk about it. The goal of this presentation is to hear from our presenters we would like them to describe their program and to talk about the rationale, what guided them when they created or initiated the programs, and how they view the role of Hebrew as a tool to build, reinforce identity. Each of them will speak for between 3 to 5 minutes. I will time you. And after that, we will want to open it for discussion, Q&A, and we would love to hear from you about your program. I will end the presentation by talking a little bit about higher education and what's going on in higher education in relation to Hebrew. So I will start with you, Jeremy. If you can start, that would be nice.
Thank you, Vardit, and thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure, really, to participate with my colleagues and to be with all of you. I want to just give 1 minute about what the Foundation for Jewish Camp does and what our role is. We are a field-building organization for the field of Jewish summer camps, including overnight camps and now Jewish day camps. About 300 different camps across North America today, serving 200,000 kids, campers, teens, and college-age counselors. It's a big enterprise, and it's touching a huge swath of the population. And 2 more things. We are a pluralistic, unified group, so we have everyone under one tent. Everyone comes together to work together to better the field and to learn from each other. And it's really become a marvelous, marvelous institution. We believe that Jewish summers are the key to the Jewish future. Jewish summers provide a joyous Jewish experience that lasts forever. And the impact is not just on the kid, but a tremendous impact and a ripple effect of the impact of that kid. And I was talking with Professor Sachs just earlier about the impact of one camper coming home speaking Hebrew, in the case of this panel, or feeling a more positive, joyous Jewish experience. That one camper affects the parents, the siblings, who then grow up, and the siblings marry, the spouses, the grandchildren, the nieces, nephews. It's a huge ripple effect. And so we want to touch one camper at a time. We want to impact one camper at a time, give them the positive experience for taking it forward. So now we talk about our Hebrew educational program. These camps, most of these camps started in the 40s and the 50s. Many were Hebrew immersion camps, Hebrew-speaking camps exclusively. That's changed over time, and now we think there's camps that use Hebrew words, but not really immersive Hebrew. So we started a few years ago with Vardit an advisor to this, but with a Hebrew immersion program in day camps. In partnership with Arevim philanthropic group, we're operating in 7 camps right now this past summer, where the kids sign up and they're in day camp, and it is fully immersive Hebrew experience for them. The shlichim are their counselors, their shinshinim, counselors that work with them. The kids are fully operating in Hebrew, and yet it's all about the fun. They're going to every activity throughout the day. They're singing, they're cheering in Hebrew, and it is a Hebrew acquisition model that really does seem to stick and seems to work. We're hoping to expand this model first to more day camps to get kids at a younger age in, and then ultimately we hope back to the overnight camp, so it's something that will stick with these kids and the families for their lifetime. We can talk more about that, but that's at least the overview of our program today.
Okay. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Galit Goldberg. I'm the educational director of Emek. Emek is Ivrit Moreshet Keila, Hebrew Heritage and Community. It's at the JCC in Tenafly, New Jersey. And we were very lucky that the JCC opened their door and their heart for the Israeli kids and the Israeli family. And Aya Scherter, she helped me to build the program. She was the manager of the Israeli Center. Now she's the regional director of IAC New Jersey. So we built it step by step. I had my own program for 7 years in my basement. And after 7 years, and after a big Hanukkah party with 120 kids and their family in my living room, I understood that I need to open my basement to the community. And I could rent any place in Tenafly, New Jersey, but I decided that I need a community center. And in perfect timing, Aya just called me and said, what are you thinking about take your program and open at the JCC? And I took the very, very great offer. And we started building at JCC, the Hebrew school. It's for Israeli kids, for Hebrew native speakers, and for non-Hebrew native speakers. And after 2 years, we have 264 kids from 3s until 9th graders. We have 2 paths of non-native. We have 2 classes of non-native kids, Hebrew speakers, and all the rest are Hebrew speakers. We have very, very big community of Israeli in our area in Tenafly, New Jersey. And every kid's coming once in a week for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And they're talking, they're eating, they're dancing, they celebrate. And everything in Hebrew. And they learn how to read and how to write. And it's a great opportunity for them to read a book in Hebrew, to get the ability to read letters, read text from the grandma, from the mommy in the morning. And this is the way they can really feel a part of their small family, and all the family in Israel connect to their family. So this is the Hebrew, and I really believe that this is the way that the kids get a very base of core to relation with the Israel. Please.
Okay. I'm Dr. Bruce Powell. I'm the head of school at the Toledo High School in West Hills, California, Los Angeles. And I'm a Dodger fan, which if you have your shirt in Hebrew and say Dodgers, then you're my friend. If not, you know. I run a classic 4-year high school, Jewish high school, grades 9 through 12. And the school, I'm the founding head of school. That's my third school I've helped to found in Los Angeles. And what we have realized in education, certainly in high school education, we have about 15 to 20% of our students are children of Israeli parents. So they're American-born children of Israeli parents. So that's a whole unique category right there. And the rest of the kids are generally born B'Arzot Abrit in the United States, of American parents. So a couple of things in the program, and we'll end it with the Hebrew. First, Israelism, the belief that if you are only connected to Israel, that will keep you Jewish in America, is a fatal mistake. It's a fatal mistake. Okay? It will not work. In Israel, Judaism is offloaded to the state. It's easy. You know, I lived in Israel. You go to the market. There's kosher food. If you want to buy something treif, you have to go to a special, butcher for steak lavan. You can pick up the schach off the streets of Yerushalayim and put it on your sukkah. It's not a problem. All right, so this is a Jewish state. Every holiday, people are saying Shabbat Shalom to you on Friday afternoon. In America, it's not so. And you're basically, if you're secular and living in Israel, you're Jewish. You're living a Jewish life. If you're secular and living in America, it doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. So, those Israelis who made an amazingly good choice, in my opinion, to send their kids to a full-day Jewish high school, and many of them to the elementary school as well, have realized that just Israelism and Hebrew only are not going to work. So that's the program. I'm going to add one more piece to this, and that is the personal program of Debbie and Bruce Powell. We have 4 fabulous adult children today. All right, let me tell you what that meant for us not living in Israel, okay? We could have lived in Israel and gotten rid of all of this stuff. But let me tell you what we had to do. 52 years, child years. 4 children, 13 years each. 52 years of day school. 40 years of Jewish camp. 2,000 Shabbat dinners. 2,000 home-baked chalot. Right? 5,000 Hanukkah candles. 40 Sukkot construction projects. 4 one-year trips for each child, 1 year each for each of the children to Israel, and 16 years of heavy-duty support for Hillel on all the college campuses they went to. Or we could have made Aliyah.
It was much easier.
Finally, in our high school, we give, it would have been much cheaper, I can tell you that. Although I had no work because I don't speak Hebrew. So but my children all speak Hebrew. You can't be jealous of your children and your students if they do better than you. Finally, we have 24 levels of Hebrew language instruction in our school. So you can enter at any point. You cannot know Aleph Bet, and we will take you from there to a certain level of literacy. You can enter with 10 years or 9 years of day school background, and we will take you from there to Hebrew Lit. All right? And so it doesn't matter where you enter, we can handle it, and we have a fabulous program. And one last thing is that we believe, and this is the most important thing about Hebrew, is that inside of Hebrew, if you know Hebrew, you are speaking all of the values of Torah. You are speaking Jewish values. You can't speak Hebrew without speaking Jewish, in the deepest sense.
So before we're going to go to the booth, before we're going to go to the other panelists, we are 6, so 3 and 3. I would like just to summarize, and let me just summarize what we heard so far. So we heard about the camps and the immersion environment, and the fact that you are trying to build a community of joy, happiness, and a lot of playfulness into your program, because you believe that this is what the camp actually creates for this. So you are matching the way you teach the language, or you present the language, to the environment. So this is the concept that you're using in the camp.
Exactly.
And it's similar to what you do, actually, but what's interesting, yeah, to a certain extent, what you are adding into it is the literacy. The importance of reading and writing, because then they go back to the families and they can continue this. And Bruce is talking about the concept of Hebrew as a value not only for Israeliness, but also for Jewishness, and how actually what I'm trying to say all the time, that it's very Jewish to know Hebrew and speak Hebrew and use Hebrew, right? Bruce, this is the kind.
As long as you are speaking it with kavanah and understanding that many of the concepts and words that you're saying are coming right out of our Torah and express those values. I've met many Israelis to whom I have to teach Hebrew.
So in other words, you're talking about the usage of Hebrew, but the knowledge about Hebrew and what does it really mean in terms of the history, Jewish, and so forth. Well, the other thing that we heard from Bruce is the fact that you try to meet the students where they are at in terms of the levels, which takes a lot of, I guess it's a lot of work to divide them into 24 levels, and I can imagine what's going on in the school. So this is what we heard so far. Is there anything else you want to add to what I've just said?
I think that I would like to emphasize that we are part of American Jewish community. It was very important to us to build our program at the JCC, to make the Israeli kids to feel part of the JCC, of the American Jewish community.
Yeah, okay.
It's very important.
Toda. This is really important. Okay, so I'll ask Rachel now to present her program and the concept and the rationale behind the program that you created in Boston.
So I'm coming here from Boston, from Hebrew College. I'm going to give a little overview about what we're doing with Hebrew language, but I'm going to talk in particular about early childhood and starting with the youngest member of our society. So Hebrew College, just from the name of it, you can understand that Hebrew is an important piece of what we're doing. If you come to the building, it says Hebrew College, המכללה העברית outside. Hebrew College was founded in 1921, and at that time, actually, all the courses were in Hebrew. The Bible courses, history courses, everything was in Hebrew. And of course, over time, like with Jewish camping, I think people at the college realized that it's a barrier, that many people in the Jewish community can't really engage in Jewish learning and Jewish text. And they lowered the barrier in some ways. And now the courses are being taught in English, but Hebrew is a very, very important part of the college work. Hebrew College is pluralistic, so we have students that are ultra-Orthodox, and we have Reform, Conservative, unaffiliated, and we also have lots of non-Jewish students as well, either working in the Jewish world or wanted to learn Hebrew before they are going to Israel for some reason. And we have Hebrew instruction for many, many different levels. Even though we're a college, we also have program for youth and teen. We have our supplementary high school, which called Makor and Prosdor for middle school and high school students. Both my girls went through the program. At home, they learn how to speak Hebrew and listen to Hebrew, but the reading and writing, they really master at Prosdor. Both of them actually did the SAT in Hebrew and got really very high score that actually placed them out of second language in college. We also have rabbinical school, and of course, to be a rabbi, you need to know Hebrew, so we have very rigorous learning for rabbinical students. Cantorial school, to be a chazan, of course, the tefillot, everything is in Hebrew. We also have ulpan. We have some people that just come to learn Hebrew. Sometimes It's the spouses of Israelis that want to learn Hebrew, and sometimes they are professionals that want to travel to Israel, or just people, Jews, that want to be engaged in the language. But again, the thing that I really wanted to talk, it's about early education, and I'm going to do it briefly. So I'm the director of the Early Childhood Institute, and if you're familiar with research, or if you have young children, or if you're engaged in education, you know that this is the best time to teach them a language. If you're starting the research that if you start teaching a second language before the age of 2, there are special connections in the brain that are being made that after that you can't make them anymore. And this is the time that kids can really absorb and the vocabulary, and it's become part of their identity. So at the Early Childhood Institute, we already have a class as part of our master program and certificate program of teaching Hebrew for early childhood, in early childhood education. So how can we bring it in a day-to-day with the young children and with their families? Unfortunately, we don't have as many educators, enough educators that are very confident in Hebrew. And this is actually one thing that led me to fund the Jewish Early Engagement Forum. It's to create awareness how this specific age group is so crucial to our community, and not enough is being invested in this age group. Because if you can imagine, if every preschool classroom, or if every program for families like PJ Library or other thing will have at least one native speakers that know how to teach the language, we'll have more and more children that are connected to the language. And then when they go to Jewish camping or day school or afternoon school, they're going to have this very strong background. So we are trying to create a movement and to do more and more in teaching Hebrew, but not only Hebrew, everything to create the Jewish identity, a strong Jewish identity from the beginning.
Toda. Etty?
So Jeremy, I'm so glad that I'm the last one after you with the Jewish camping, because this is actually how I came to the early childhood. I've been the director of Hebrew learning at Olin Seng for the past 46 years, and we do still have a program that speaks only Ivrit in Chalutzim. It's 7 weeks of intense Hebrew, only Hebrew for high school children, and the whole program at camp is very much based on the Hebrew language as a useful language. When I came from camp one of the summers about 26 years ago, the parents were asking me, how come we can't replicate camp in the Hebrew school setting? Kids love Hebrew when they go to camp, and then don't feel quite as strongly attached to Hebrew when they come back to the city. And this is how we created a Moadon. We did not call it a Hebrew school. We still don't call it a Hebrew school. It's a Moadon, where we set up camp in the classroom. How do you do camp in a classroom? First of all, we focused on Israel and the Hebrew language, because that's what we did at camp. And we got rid of so many of the barriers of the ages and the grades and the bell ringing in, the bell ringing out, no report cards, no test, no quizzes, all the things that kids don't like when they come to school after school. So we got rid of all of that. Games and fun can be done in the city in just the same way that it can be done at camp. One parent once asked me, how could you have fun? If you have fun, you don't learn. And I said, that's not at all the case. 10 years later, we spoke to a person who came to Chicago from Washington, who was a doctor and was a psychologist, who was a pediatrician, who said, to continue on to what Rachel is saying, it's from the age of 0 to 6, some say 7, that they actually have millions of cells in their brain that are earmarked for second language acquisition only. It can't be borrowed towards math or chemistry or anything else. It is only for second language acquisition. So we decided to tap on that age, and we now have from the age of 1 year to 6, we even have a 7-year-old. We even have one 8-year-old. And we speak only Hebrew to American kids whose parents do not speak English at home. And we have 70% Americans and 30% Israelis. And there is no question that their identity is connected. I brought 5 staff members to this convention because I think it's important they will be part of the community. And when I said to the kids, I'm not going to be here on Friday, and they said, oh, you're going to Israel. They said it in Hebrew. There is no question if you pack a suitcase, the only place you can go is Israel because nothing else exists in our school but connection to Israel and connection to the Hebrew language. It is doable. It is done well. The kids sing in Hebrew, speak in Hebrew, run in Hebrew, fall in Hebrew, cry in Hebrew. They do everything that we do in English. And this is not just learning the Hebrew, but learning the whole Jewish living on a daily basis. So we're very happy. Come visit us.
I did. It's wonderful. So we heard from Rachel and Etty about the importance of introducing the language at early age. You're talking about to professionalize the teachers, and you're talking about the kids that are coming. And also we're talking about the immersive and also about the Israeliness in the school as part of the success of what you're trying to do there. So from early age, I would like to talk a little bit about higher education. I'm actually now the director of the School of Hebrew at Middlebury College. I'm also a research professor there. And I've been for 30 years a professor at Brandeis University. I co-founded with Arnie, who's sitting here, the Hebrew Center. We're trying to do a lot of initiatives related to Hebrew. And I would like to focus a little bit about the higher education piece of what we're trying, the story that we're trying to tell about Hebrew. So the sense that we have now in Hebrew education, in the higher education, is that it's on the verge of collapse. I'm listening to all these presenters about the success and how wonderful things are happening in different areas of education. But somehow when those kids are coming to higher education, they do not study Hebrew. Since 2009, we had a decline of 33% of students who are taking Hebrew in higher education. Right now we have around, and listen to this number, only 6,000 students who are taking Hebrew in higher education, which means that departments are closing, no more positions, the presence of Hebrew on campuses is very small, and we are trying to see what we can do about it. People tend to think that this is part of the general trend of decline in numbers in studying languages in general, especially less commonly taught languages. I'm not really sure that this is true. And I'm questioning how come there's a lot of effort is being done in other areas of Hebrew education, but it doesn't seem to impact what's happening right now in higher education. This is a question that I'm asking right now. So the School of Hebrew was created in Middlebury College almost 10 years ago. I was drafted into this operation, this initiative by then the president of the college, who understood that we need to do something about it. And Middlebury College, if you don't know, has what we call the most, it's the school for languages in the country, and even some consider it in the world. There's another person here from Middlebury College, so she can talk about it later. So what is Middlebury College and the Language School? This is a school that during the summer for the last 101 years, it's an immersion program. It's a university. Within a university, it's from the last 100 years, we have what we call the Middlebury method. Students are coming into the program, and for 7 weeks, they just stay in the language, in the target language that they are studying. We started 9 years ago with 27 students. Last year, we had 110. But the reason we had it also because we had different programs, but we are trying to cater programs to the needs of our population, the students who are coming to study. And we are a mission-based school, unlike the other 10 schools. There are 11 schools. We have 3 missions. The mission number 1 is to increase the number of people who are proficient in the language. We want more people who can speak the language, who can know the language and know about the language. The other mission is to build capacity to professionalize Hebrew teachers to become teachers as according to the discipline or the profession of teaching languages, second language acquisition. And the third one is research. We realize that we cannot improve the state of Hebrew unless we understand the state of Hebrew, what's going on, why things are happening the way they are happening. So in order to build a field, we are doing research, and we do the research through a new program that we're going to open next year, which is a doctorate program in research orientation about Hebrew. So this is what we're trying to do at Middlebury. And before we are going to start, I would like to add that it's not easy. There are some challenges, including financial challenges and how to keep up with the program, which is an expensive program. The challenge is the advocacy. We train teachers, and we train teachers according to the profession, but then when they go back to the schools, the principal, the head of school, do not necessarily understand the profession, and suddenly there's a new teachers coming, the teachers coming back to the school with the new tools, and there is kind of mismatch between them and the teachers. And again, it's a rigorous academic program, and not, even though we want all the Hebrew teachers to become professional Hebrew teachers, it's a challenge for many teachers to come and go through this program, how to accommodate them in terms of time, and it's a lot of time consuming. So I talked about my challenges, and before we open it for discussion, I would like quickly to ask you, what are the challenges in your program that you are encountering? I don't know who would like to start. Yeah.
I'll take it. My biggest challenge, I was just speaking with Galit about it, is to have high-level American-born Hebrew language instructors who know baseball. You understand what I'm saying? Who understand deeply the American teenage mind, who understand culture in America. I don't understand soccer. I could not teach in Israel. It's as simple as that. I just cannot, because I can't get my mind around it. It's not part of my DNA. Go. It sounds like you're South African or British or Australian. All right, I won't. We won't mince words. It's they all sound the same to me. So it's I would pay a lot of money for a complete American-born staff who are absolutely fluent in Hebrew and who had Vardit's training and who also went to camp.
I'd just add, I think one challenge that Vardit you raised is the financial one, and it goes to the professionals that are working in that in this space. It's critical, so I second that. The other point I'd like to make is I think we've got to break down barriers and make sure that these experiences are shared, as Galit explained, where it's American and Israelis living in North America together. We think the camp programs are doing that. They're not intended only for the Israeli population or only the American population. It's that coming together. And if we can break down barriers, that's going to have a positive ripple effect across every other interaction we have, every dimension, not just Hebrew, but breaking these barriers that separate us. Critical.
I think that our biggest challenge is to find Israeli good teachers, because I hiring only teachers who speak fluently Hebrew with a Israeli accent, and it's a big challenge. Now we have very good staff, but some teachers are going back to Israel, and we need to work very hard to build a good staff. So it's a very big challenge.
How much are you paying? Because all of my children speak perfect Hebrew with an Israeli accent.
We will have a deal.
American born.
Yeah, they will get extra because they will teach us
And
how to play.
We will get a commission from this deal.
With the early childhood, one of the big obstacles, there is no field of early education right now. So we don't really look at it holistic. So like Jewish early childhood, because when you're talking about, yes, we have lack of teacher, we have lack of money, we have lack of so many different pieces are missing right now. It's not being looked at enough. It's a more systematic way. So it's very, very complex. The piece with the educator, I would have to say that every preschool that has at least one Israeli, usually they attract all the Israelis in the area. You have like 50% or more Israelis in this preschool. The other thing that I do encourage, at least to overcome some of these challenges, is to use Israelis. Like if you're a parent and your kids are in the preschool, volunteer. Come read books, do other things. There's other ways that don't cost money that we can overcome it.
I want to speak about a challenge, not just a personal challenge or the school challenge. I think it would be great if we could get to a point where the Hebrew language as a subject of Jewish identity will be as important as anything else that we try to pride ourselves on. And that we can hold a meeting like that talks about the Hebrew language, the Ivrit. And that all of the things that we talk about, the Jewish education, the Safa Ivrit, will be up to par than anything else that we're talking about, whether it's tefillot, bar mitzvah, anything else that we talk about, that the Safa Ivrit will be up here, at least along with everything else that we're doing.
And I think, Bruce, do you want to?
Yeah, I with respect to my colleague Etty, I don't 100% agree. I don't 100% agree that Hebrew is the piece for the American-born Jewish kids. We did an exchange program with Israeli and Arab Israeli students, Jewish Israeli and Arab Israeli students. The Arab students, we did a Torah roll, which means we unrolled the entire Torah, and this 15-year-old Arab Israeli boy read the Torah like I could never do it. He was completely fluent in Hebrew, not so Jewish.
We said
so,
up to,
so
along with.
Yeah.
Just not a step
I would
down.
I would never take.
Right now it's a step down. I would just like to be as important as Jewish values.
As important.
Ani Maskim. I agree.
Okay, great. So at this point, I would like to open it for Q&A, or if you would like to share your program, and if you do so, please describe the program and also describe the guidelines, the principles that led to the creation of the program that you are either you created or somebody else you're working on. So, בעברית או באנגלית? אנגלית. באנגלית אם אפשר. אתה אז לא תגיד, אז לא? Okay. So please do. Okay. Yeah, good. Okay. Wow.
That's the second time that happened today, and both times I got it. Oh, okay. That was very stressful. I have a couple of questions. I'm Ella. I'm from IAC Keshet, Vikshatot. Keshet, Kila Sefat Tarbut. Very similar. We have been working in New York for 6 or 7 years, and the guiding principle is Ivrit Be'Ivrit. It started for the children of Israelis as Israeli Hebrew supplemental education, where we learn about the holidays and we learn about the secular Jewish experience. In Hebrew, we started a dual language track to teach Israeli Hebrew, spoken Hebrew, also reading and writing, but spoken, conversational, real Israeli Hebrew, also to the children of non-Israelis. I have a question for Etty, actually, because we, with our dual language students, especially the older ones, often do, when we teach Hebrew, it's in Hebrew, and the classroom language is Hebrew. But when we turn to more complex issues like, let's talk about the story of Passover, or let's talk about why you're picking on this friend of yours, or let's talk about what's happening over there that we need to address, we switch to English because their intellectual level is so much higher than their Hebrew level. And if I try to sort of explain the complex idea behind Passover or explain the complex idea behind slicha, using the word that they know, slicha, ani omer slicha, the discussion would be very barren for someone who's a 3rd, 4th, 5th grader. So how do you manage that?
So I'll answer you in 2 ways. One is, when you talk about Ivrit Be'Ivrit, then do it Ivrit Be'Ivrit. Even at camp, one of the no-nose rules that we have, we would never say, I'm going to say it in English because it's important. Because that whatever happened that needed attention, we all of a sudden stopped the Hebrew and we said, I'm going to tell you now this in English because it's important, which means the rest of it was not. So there are sections that you do in English, and it's your English program matching the students that you need to address those complicated words. I am not a great chassidah of having an hour of Ivrit. The Ivrit, if you teach Pesach, you teach it by Ivrit, if that's your program. If you call it program Ivrit, by Ivrit. If you have hours in the day that you teach English, then you teach English.
Okay.
But the Hebrewish model doesn't work as a language. Because if you're going to say, I'm going to the shirutim now, you could say the same thing with just ani olech, ani olechet.
Be very
and
clear, we
minimize,
never say
minimize,
that,
minimize, minimize the verbs that you need to use. So you just use zman le, and you don't need to say ani rotze, ani tzarich, ani tzricha. You don't need it. Just minimize it to what makes sense. But the language is made up of patterns and sentences and a conversation. And when we start putting the English in between, we take away from the notion of what it means to learn a language. So yes, the English is fine, but let's not call this Ivrit b'Ivrit.
So Etty is actually talking about what we call boundaries, in which you create space for Hebrew, which actually reinforce the language if you know that when a child going to this space, they will use English. But I would like, even in Hebrew, if you can share what you have. Whatever, just I don't want to leave you on the
Hebrew panels
For
talking
me
about
too.
Hebrew in English. I
Next
don't
year-
have any
next
problem.
year in
I have any
Hebrew.
problem. Last year was in Hebrew, by the way, right?
I know,
I'm alive,
I
by the way.
remember, yeah.
I'm working with Etty. She's my mentor, and she teaches me a lot. So I will not talk about Gani because you hear about her. You spoke about challenges, and for me, one of the challenges is how to create the, I will say, the engagement between the parents, they are non-Hebrew speakers, to make sure that they can understand the effect. And I think there is a lot of effect about to know the Hebrew. And there is a big connection between to know the Safa Ivrit. She Ashira, by the way. She's very rich. You can talk about Slicha hours in Hebrew. The questions, how level you bring the kids, from first grade, or from 12 months until first grade, and you continue with that, and you build it. So when they're coming to the age of 13, you can make a deep conversation about Passover. But if you start in the age of 10, it's very hard. So, separately, I'm sorry. How you can make the engagement with us as educators, with the parents, to understand the side benefits of know the Hebrew language as a Hebrew language, not as a Sunday school. Because if it's just a Sunday school, so it's going by Shalom, Boker Tov, Litraot, and when I'm speaking with those parents in my age, mid-30s, 40s, what they remember from Hebrew schools, it's nothing. It's to read the Torah and not understand a word from that.
All right, so I'm going to take that, if I may, just for a second. I'm running a high school, so it's already in some ways too late. But I can speak very knowledgeably about American-born parents with American kids who go to Jewish day schools. There's a couple of things going on. One is a psychological barrier that we have to get past with the American-born parents who are a little threatened that their kids will come home and be able to speak in a language that they don't understand, and the parents are not able to help them on their homework. So this is a very frustrating thing for them, and the solution obviously is teach those parents Hebrew and do it for free. The other piece of it is an intellectual piece where we have to convince them of the efficacy, of the importance and the effectiveness of teaching another language and how that affects the brain. And I think Etty spoke to that, or someone spoke to that very cogently, how important that is in terms of just simply brain development. Look, and the way, and then we have to encourage them to do what Debbie and Bruce Powell did. We simply threatened them. Okay, I'm serious. We sent them to Jewish day schools. We said, you will be fluent in Hebrew. We are not, but you will be. We know some. And then when they went on there, we had this exchange program with Tel Aviv. We sent them for 3 months. And I basically, as the head of school, I threaten all the kids who go on the 3-month program, either you come back fluent in Hebrew or don't come home. I'm not well liked by the parents, but it works. All my kids are fluent in Hebrew.
Okay.
There you go.
אז כאן יש שתי שאלות. Here you have questions. I don't know. Yeah. הגברת, שלך, ואחר כך. We have enough time to go through this.
Hi, I wanted to ask, some of you actually have American kids and Israeli kids, and some of you in your name, you have the community. How do you build the community between the Israelis and the Americans around the Hebrew, around this education?
You're talking about the children or the parents?
The parents, the families.
The connection between all the families?
Yes.
It's not easy. It's not what we tried by program of after school during the Shabbat. We make a Kabbalat Shabbat all together, and we have a library, so we invite the people to come to the library and just to come to play games, and it's really not easy, but our teachers work very hard to ask from the parents stay at the area of our program, and then they can talk one with each other, and to feel the environment of the school. That's what we try. I'm always telling to the parents, the American parents, that you just driving for 5 minutes and you open the door and you're in Israel, in a very good school in Israel. So that's the way that we try to bring them to the school too, and we bring Emek to the home by sending emails. Every week we send the emails with all the details, what they did during the class, and with a vocal voice message from the teacher. They send all the words they learn in a good accent, Israeli accent. So it's big challenge. It's another big challenge.
It's another big challenge. Before we continue, I just want to point out something that you said about, well, it's not Sunday school. As if Sunday school, it's a different category, and one of the challenges that I think we need to look at, it's how we do Hebrew in the context of Sunday school, because we know that most of the kids are going there. It's not only day school. So this is just a comment. And אדון, אתה רצית? אני לא יודעת איך... And then Paula.
So I'm a former charge of Dr. Powell's, and went to the school formerly known as New Community Jewish High School, and now my little sister is at Toledo High School and will soon be graduating. But I want to briefly comment on the experiential piece of this, because I think that was the best part of my Hebrew learning at New Jew, back when it was New Jew, because I think that that's the best way to get a young child interested in learning Hebrew. I remember in my day school days, I went to a Dodariel day school back in LA, and we were sitting in basically a basement library just being lectured at for an hour, or what felt like hours back then. And I think what shifted and solidified my interest was going to Israel and learning it there, or going out and needing to use it somewhere in the LA community. And I think New Jew definitely facilitated that. So in that way, I think they were very successful, because I also took 2 semesters of Hebrew in college and pursued it further and used it on an advocacy mission to Israel as well. So I think it is useful, but also how do you mitigate the challenge of needing to teach students the grammar and the finer points of Hebrew while also keeping them interested in the experiential piece? Because I think becomes kind of problematic.
Okay. You're telling me that binyanim are not interesting?
Yeah. So Rachel will respond to you, and then Paula will. Okay. Toda.
Usually in education, and we see it through the School of Education, when you work hands-on, it's much more you immerse in the experience. It's much more positive. I know that we also take groups to Israel. I can teach about Israel and lecture and show pictures and book and all of that. The moment that students are there, if they're adult or younger, it makes a huge difference. So it's not surprising. So the question is, how do we create more and more opportunities like this? If you can create a Moadon, or you can create an after this kind of opportunities for your students.
Okay.
I also, if you don't mind, you asked something about the 2 communities of Israelis and American within schools. I don't run preschool myself, but I work with many preschools in the Boston area and nationally. And many of the directors come to me and say it's a big issue. Many of them said that the Israelis are coming and they speak Hebrew and they become like a clique, and the Americans feel intimidated. But then when we speak to the Israelis, they feel uncomfortable speaking with the American in English, and it's a really problem. And we're trying to see how can we create opportunity for them to get together, because this is a great opportunity to bring the Israelis, American, and the American Jews together. It's a win-win. Each one can teach so much, and I've been doing it not just at Hebrew College, but in my own home community, bringing them together, celebrating together. American Jews can teach us how to be Jews out of Israel without the Jewish calendar and the language and the family, and the Israeli can bring a lot of language and knowledge about Israel. So it's a tough. The next session, we're going to have somebody from JCC. They have a lot of this issue, and they're going to talk about it later on.
Bruce, can you allow Paula, and then you can read?
Yeah, I want to speak back to this lady's question, which I think is very, very important. And I want to add to what Rachel just said. I was going to say the exact same thing. It's very alienating for American parents when the Israelis are. In fact, one of the schools in Los Angeles banned Hebrew speaking in the hallways.
Oh my goodness.
They banned it by the Israeli parents, not the children, by the parents, because it was so alienating to the Americans. And by the way, the Americans all left the school because they didn't want to be there anymore. There's another piece which I know is...
But not the parents.
The parents left, not the kids. Some of the kids left. The other piece of it, which is something that's extremely difficult to change, is that typically Americans speak in 3 tones when they speak. And when we get to the 4th or 5th tone in our speaking, that's when we're yelling. Israelis typically speak in 4 or 5 tones.
With their hands.
So my children for 13 years thought every teacher was yelling at them, all right, when in fact all they were doing, ma pitom, that's not yelling, that's just Hebrew. But when the American parents and kids hear that 4th and 5th tone, they're yelling. And and the Americans are sitting there wondering, why is everybody angry? It's something that needs to be addressed.
I think you should all move to Chicago, because we do not really seriously, we do not face it at all. We have, it's the weather, right? It's cold by us.
Values.
We don't face it. We have a Shabbat dinner, we have Sukkot, we have Rosh Hashanah, we have raising the glass, we have summer picnics. It doesn't exist. The opposite. When we come together, probably it could be 50-50, it could be 30-70. I mean, it's not, but the issue doesn't exist as an issue. They invite each other to come. They know we speak in a higher voice. That's fine. We sing louder. But there is not a tension. And I think it's just that the way that you created from the beginning, that we are one community, and they're Israelis and they are not, and we go to Israel together and we do groups, and it's just fine.
Paula,
okay. So my name is Paula Sinclair. I am on staff at IAC Boston. My kids all went to Jewish day school. They went to JCDS in Watertown, Massachusetts. Co-founder Arnie is right in the front row. I have 3 kids. They went through JCDS. They went through Gani Academy. Their Hebrew is fantastic. And we live in a home where I speak Hebrew, but they surpassed me in Hebrew probably around 6th grade. And my husband's not even Jewish, so he could never help them with homework. And I think for the parents who say we can't help them with homework and it's too intimidating, so is science and math. Like, what is the difference? And why do parents have to help their kids with every subject? So I think it's a cop-out, really, on the part of parents and the part of Jewish educators to take that.
כן, בבקשה. כאן. כי את הצבעת, ואחרי זה... תמי, אני לא יודעת, ואת ואתם, וכולם תשאלו ביחד. כן.
So before I ask my question, I just want to say the reason her kids speak Hebrew so well is this woman right here, Dr. Vardit Ringvald, and JCDS program wouldn't exist if it hadn't been for her. So toda lach. I wanted to ask because one of the things, the focus of the panel was on identity, and I actually wondered if everybody, might have the opportunity to say something. We've talked a little bit at the beginning, but we're talking to an Israeli-American audience, and what do you think, the critical elements in the various programs that you're involved in or the areas you're involved in that are related to that? And so I just didn't know if we'd have the opportunity here a little.
So thank you, Arnie. The next panel will explore it more in depth, but definitely we can address this if you have something to say about the connection between the type of program.
First, we got to be joyous about what we're doing, whether it's in English or in Hebrew. It's got to be fun and joyful, and I think it appears that the experiences that are being represented here are really concentrating in that. I think that's one very positive common dimension, a joyous Jewish experience.
And experiential, Okay. Elements of identity?
Yeah, I think that something that it's very important to us, that the Jewish tradition as a culture, to bring the kids the values, and as usual, the kids, when they live in Israel, the parents don't have any issue regarding that. They don't think how to celebrate Rosh Hashanah, how to bring the feeling of Yom Kippur to the house. And here, I think that as parents in the United States, we are very lucky to get this opportunity to think how we want to celebrate the holidays. So I think that's what we bring to the school, and that's what we bring to the house. We take Emek to the house, and we send many activities and many ideas to help the parents to celebrate and to feel the Jewish and the Israeli culture at home.
So Bruce and then Rachel will address.
We have this exchange program where we bring about 80 Israeli high school students from 3 different high schools in Tel Aviv to our school, and then we go to their schools. It's a direct exchange. We live in each other's homes and so on. And in terms of identity, it's the greatest thing ever for our kids and for the Israelis. Why? Because the secular Israelis from Tel Aviv come, and we make them Jews. All right? And meaning our kids all of a sudden realize how Jewish they are, whether they're Reformed, Conservative, Orthodox. We're a very pluralistic school, and they now take actually more pride in being Jewish, because they're going to take the kids to Yom Kippur service for the first time. And then all of a sudden they go like, wow, I know something, and they speak Hebrew, but I'm going to show them this, and so on and so on. So it actually helps their identity. On the reverse side, we go there, and we always go during what we call the Yom Haz. Do you know what the Yom Haz are? Yom HaAtzmaut, Yom HaShoah, Yom HaZikaron. We put a little English together with Hebrew. Okay, we have fun with it. It's Los Angeles. We do what we want. So they go there for all of the Israeli holidays, which for our kids are Jewish holidays. They're not just Israeli holidays. They are Jewish holidays that we celebrate in school. And that brings their identity even closer. So this exchange among the two nations is vital.
I want to read from Hebrew College mission statement about Hebrew. So Hebrew language is a conveyor of Jewish culture and is a link between diaspora Jewry and the state of Israel. So we need to think about it, that when we're talking about Hebrew, when you mentioned the Arab boy reading the Torah, he doesn't connect to it the way we want our children to connect. So the Hebrew is actually a key to connect them to the Jewish text. It's key to connect them to Israelis. It's key for Israelis to connect with their family in Israel. I know many Israeli families that the kids don't speak Hebrew, so it's becoming a burden for the kids to go to Israel because they can't really communicate with their families. And when they speak the language, they feel at home when they go to Savta and Saba and all of that. So when we talk about identity, this is truly giving them so much, a way to connect them on so many different levels with Jewish life and Judaism.
And to their family, not just
So
not
Etty
just
will say a sentence or two, and then you were trying to, yeah, I know. Okay.
So for us, the identity is obviously that Israel and Hebrew are a big part of their identity. So my daughter was sitting here reminding me the other day when we were talking that it's interesting that when the children raise their hand, they raise it in an Israeli way. This is how you raise your hand in Israel, with the etzba, okay? We have a map on the floor of Israel that's made out of tape. We meet the different groups. So we said, today we're going to meet in Eilat. And they have to go meet in Eilat. They say, oh, it's going to be so hot. It's all done in Hebrew. We're going to meet in the Golan. Oh, it's going to be so cold. And our children think that it's strange to have a Sevivon that has Nes Gadol Haya Sham on it. To them, the Sevivon is Nes Gadol Haya Po because we're in Little Israel in Chicago. And if somebody comes from another school and show them the shin, they say, what's the shin doing here? So they live in the bubble, so to speak. But we have an amazing number of families who take their kids to Israel when they're 6, 7, 5, and so on, when they're very young. And they come back and they're so proud of themselves as parents because their kids are able to communicate with cousins and families and people in the hotel in Hebrew. And they're not the ones who are saying, my kid is too young to go to Israel. But they are young, but they have tools that they can go to Israel a lot younger. Okay. So the whole identity of Israel is very important.
And we will elaborate on the issue of identity in the next session, so you're welcome if you're interested. Ken, Baksha.
My name is Edna Talmor Ekresh. I'm from Cleveland. I've been involved in Jewish education for over 30 years. Last as superintendent of Cleveland Hebrew Schools. We are one of the few cities in America that still have Hebrew as a subject in a public school, in middle school and high school. And for the last couple of years, I've been involved with One Happy Campers and with Hebrew immersion program, as you know, in our camps. I think we did not touch a very important fact, and I would like the panel to address. There was a revolution, the technology revolution. The teaching of Hebrew evolved totally because of that revolution as far as the program we have out there, self-studies, instant feedback to the students. Those who have difficulties without having any support at home can interact with the computer at home. Teacher can communicate with kids via the computer and so on. How does this actually, not having trained teacher with technology, affect the quality of what we have to offer in our school today?
Okay, toda rabba. Any other, let's say, you over there next to Paula? Yeah, and then Tammy, you'll do it. Yeah. After that, Tammy, you first over there, and then Tammy.
Thank you. I hope she didn't do too much problem. Hi, my name is Yael Magen, and I live in Swampscott. I was born in Israel to American parents, so I have both languages my whole life. And actually, I experienced something different. My son goes to Jewish day school in Marblehead, and 4 years ago, there was only one Israeli family at that school. Now there are about 6 Israeli families at the school, and whenever we go to the school, you always speak in Hebrew to somebody, to a parent, to a teacher, to a child. And actually, the Jewish Americans, they really like it, especially the ones who are an alumni. They feel that they're, again, connected to the Hebrew aspect of it. And those who are not are actually happy because their kids are studying Hebrew, so they like it that they have the Hebrew not only in school, but in other places. Now, I just wanted to ask a question because me and also Amy Gold, the principal of the school, we're very interested in actually connecting between the generations, connecting between our grandchildren who live here in America, the Israeli Americans and Jews who live here in America, and their grandparents who actually live in Israel. And that connection, not only when they go to visit in Israel, but actually having a connection on a daily basis, or even in schools and programs. We're trying out to get a book program to bring into the schools for the grandchildren as well as the grandparents in Israel. That's a way to connect between the generations, and especially connect the Israeliness and the Hebrew and the Judaism to bring it back to the kids. And I was wondering, does anybody, do you guys do projects between the generations, not only the families, not only the kids and their parents, but actually how do we connect between our grandchildren here in America who love to connect to their grandparents in Israel?
Thank you, and I would like to add to this that we realize that there are many grandparents whose kids just moved to Israel who would like to connect with the grandchildren in Hebrew. That's a reason we opened at Middlebury a program called Lifelong Learners for people who are at that age who would be able to learn the language enough in order to connect with their with their grandchildren. And the reason we did it is really about connecting the generation and make it Hebrew as something for all, not necessarily for either. So it could be one thing for all people. By the way, there's a lot of science today on how to teach this age group a new language. So either you're talking about early childhood, I would like to encourage you to look into how any language, and Hebrew specifically, can happen at any age if you're using the right tools and the right science to do so. So I don't know if you want to add something about grandparents or across generation.
There's just a new program. Someone from Amsterdam, I just don't remember her name. There are two Israeli women, and they create a special program for grandparents, parents, and kids and grandparents, how to connect between them. They're a very special program with Skype. And I would love to share with you. I just need to check in my email. And it's very new, and I know it works. And just from my experience, I have 4 kids from 7 to 15 years old, and there are 2 grandmas. They're very lucky. It doesn't matter if they would live in Israel or not. With one grandma, they have very good relationship. With the other, not. So I think that you just need to learn them how to create the relationship with their family. And if they have the Hebrew, so this is the most important thing, that they can talk to one
Okay, so to that, we have 5 minutes. So Tammy, you had a question, and maybe you will have, you have a question.
Yeah, hi. My name is Corinne. I am the co-founder of Yaladudis Entertainment. We are an entertainment company. We teach Hebrew, and we are working on strengthening kids' connection to Israel and love for Israel. What we do is we have 4 theater productions, all bilingual. We adjust the Hebrew level to the event that we're performing at. We also have an animation series that is available free online on YouTube. These 2, it's called, the animation series called Kef Date. It's like a play date, and Kef in Hebrew means fun. So this is the way we want it to be appealing for kids. We want it to be fun and interactive, so they want to learn Hebrew and they have a good experience while they're learning Hebrew through the theater and through the animation. What I feel, and tell me if I'm mistaken, that there is more focus on Hebrew education and Israel education on, we focus on early education, on ages 2 to 10. I feel like there are programs like Galit or Sofim, like really amazing programs for high school kids, or say kids that are 12 and up, and less for early education. This is, doing it for 4 years now, this is how I feel. Why do you think that is, and how can we change it?
Quickly, and then Tommy has to say something, and maybe we ask each of you then to say one sentence that each of the participants can take with them when they...
One of the big issue with early education, it's not just about the Jewish world, it's the American world. Early education actually started in the United States in kindergarten, in most states. Some states have it a little bit differently. If you look at Israel, actually early education started at the age of 3. It's free and mandatory. So more resources, not enough resources are actually going to early education, which is a big problem. And I think maybe of the society issues that we see with teenagers and college age and all of that are actually coming from uneven start. And this is what I'm trying to advocate, at least starting with the Jewish world, but the mission is to go later on to the non-Jewish world and nationally, internationally, to think about this such a crucial age group that we really don't pay attention to it. And this is not just the time to invest in the children, this is the time when the family is forming their friendships and deciding what kind of educational choices they're going to make. And the next session, we're actually going to delve into that because we're really trying to create a new movement and a new field and changes, and we need every voice to be part of that to make a change. But you're right, absolutely.
Tammy.
My name is Tammy, and I run an all-Israeli full Hebrew immersion center in Rockville, Maryland. I wanted to say something to Paula about the fact that parents don't speak Hebrew at home. Just a small story. I had a little girl, mom Israeli, dad American, and on the way to Gani, the dad came in and was very frustrated. He said, all the way from, when we left home until we got to Gani, Danielle told me that you went to see Shablul, and you looked at the Shablul, and you fed the Shablul, and you looked at, and whatever. Tami, what is Shablul? So we cannot disregard the frustration. We have to embrace it, and we have to keep it in mind, because we cannot, it's not like math or science, it's communications. If you cannot talk to your child, it's going to, maybe scare some parents from going into a full Hebrew immersion. So it's something that we really have to keep in mind and help and remember that the communication, a parent who cannot speak to his child is something that we can't have it. That was my 2 cents about that. But I also wanted to ask Vardit about the higher education and the fact that departments are closing down and there is so much, less interest in Hebrew. What could be done about that? Because if we lose that, we're not going to have more teachers. We're not going to have people to continue the legacy of teaching Hebrew. So
thank you for this, because this is going to be my closing kind of statement, and I will start and then you can add. I intended to talk about the fact that in my wish list is the fact that more conversation will happen between all the groups that are dealing with Hebrew in order to connect the dot better. I guess that we should understand better what we do in order to feed each other's program, and I think what should be done in terms of higher education is to understand who are the learners who are coming from these different institutions in order to be able to cater their needs when they come into higher education. I just want to add that in higher education, people tend not to become professional teachers. They tend to be scholars who are teaching Hebrew, and we have to do some more work in terms of this. So this is another. But I would like each of you, if you can just say one sentence that...
To me, I think we should think about this whole exercise as how we create a stronger community that is integrated across backgrounds, across religious perspectives. We want to bring our North American community together, and I think this exercise helps to get at that.
I think that our mission is to help our kids to connect to their past, to understand, and then they can understand their present, and to create their future. So, and this is exactly Emek. It's Ivrit, Moreshet, and Keila. So, this is my goal.
If we choose to live as Jews in America, it's really hard work to maintain ourselves as Jews. Do the following in this order: do camp, bake challah, sing Jewish songs, make Judaism fun, and know our values.
Starting from the beginning, Bereshit, this is the most important piece, so to think about it wherever you are in which community. And like with Aleph Bet, you need to start with letters. We are building upon it, so it's important to build right, to have a strong foundation.
And come to my high school.
Yes, it will be natural.
I think we should not...
University, right?
Yes.
Judaism...
Don't forget to come here, yeah.
Judaism and Israel and Hebrew will be something that will be left with the children and with us from day one until the very last day. It's one of the things that is not seasonal. It's there all the time, and we need to invest in it as much as we possibly can.
Okay, תודה רבה לכם, to everyone there. תודה רבה.
Thank you, Vardit.
Okay.
Bruce, do you work with עירונית ט' in Tel Aviv?
תודה, Vardit.